the southern border of the United States, a large number of migrants are congregating and hoping for a chance to enter the country. However, they are usually met with harsh living conditions, a lack of basic necessities, and the possibility of being forcibly separated from their families. In the fiscal year 2022, over 800 migrants lost their lives at the US-Mexico border, with hundreds more reported as missing. The United States has implemented increasingly restrictive immigration policies and subjected immigrants to harsh treatment, including widespread arrests, detentions, deportations, and repatriations. The U.S. arrests of migrants exceeded 1.7 million in 2021, a record high since 1986. The human rights of immigrants there are grossly violated, and humanitarian disasters occur frequently during the law enforcement process. So what are the motives behind America's immigration policy? How has America treated migrants? And how have human rights and migrant issues become political tools for both parties? In this episode, I will delve into America's immigration history and provide insights into the modern politics surrounding migrants. I'm Keegan Strang, and you're watching Dialogue with China.
I think that generally the United States treats immigrants quite poorly.
One of the main problems is that people don't have a path to become legal in the U.S.
If you are not an American, you are not as good as an American is. Could have a lot of prejudice.
We should work on a better system for legal immigration.
After the breakout of the coronavirus pandemic, the U.S. authorities issued a public order with the aim of stopping the spread of COVID-19. The policy is widely known as Title 42, allowing U.S. officials to expel migrants at U.S. land borders. Under Title 42, migrants were returned over the border and denied the right to seek asylum. U.S. officials turned away migrants more than 2.8 million times, expelling at least 215,000 parents and children, of whom 16,000 were unaccompanied minors. Although Title 42 ended in May 2023, the Biden administration rolled out the asylum ineligibility rule, which could potentially block migrants from entering the country and leave them in grave danger. The rule requires asylum seekers to schedule an appointment for an asylum hearing at a legal port of entry or prove they had already sought and had been denied asylum in another country while en route to the U.S. The rule has drawn wide criticism from the public. Over 100 immigration advocacy organizations have launched a public campaign to raise awareness and voice their concern. And a federal judge in San Francisco called the policy both substantively and procedurally invalid.
就是在特朗普时期，他采取了对于移民非常强硬，甚至说是一个打压的一个政策，他大幅的收紧了移民政策。拜登上台后费了很大的劲，然后最终呢是把一部分特朗普时期的这样一个移民政策把它做了一个取消，也是引起了一个巨大的争议。美国国内现在在移民问题上是多么的撕裂。而且它的这个撕裂的伴随的就是美国两党在移民问题上的这种势同水火的斗争也是越演越烈。
The policies toward refugees can change over time due to shifts in political priorities or changes in administration. For example, after the 9/11 attack, it became more common to view refugees, especially those from the Middle East, as possible security threats. Naturally, politicians holding the same view could easily get more support from the public. During the Trump administration, immigration policies have become harsher and stricter. The controversial zero-tolerance policy led to more than 3,900 children being separated from their families from July 2017 through January 2021. UN human rights officials have called on the United States, the only country in the world that has not ratified the Convention on the Rights of the Child, to join the convention as soon as possible and to respect the rights of all children. Hundreds of thousands of people across the U.S. protested against the zero-tolerance immigration policy. The United States has set up the world's largest immigration detention system. According to previously secret inspection reports written by experts hired by the U.S. government, in examining more than 24 facilities across 16 states, from 2017 to 2019, these expert inspectors found negligent medical care, including mental health care, unsafe and filthy conditions, racist, abusive detainees, inappropriate pepper spraying of mentally ill detainees, and other problems that in some cases contributed to detainee deaths. In Stewart Detention Center alone, a Georgia lockup operated by a private prison company, 8 detainees have died since 2017. A complaint filed in 2022 on behalf of 4 women alleged that they were sexually assaulted by a male nurse in the facility. To save costs, the U.S. government has largely outsourced immigrant detention to private companies. more than 90% of the roughly 31,000 people held by Immigration and Customs Enforcement, ICE, on average in July were in private facilities. Under Biden, private prison company GEO Group saw its revenues from ICE contracts for detention centers and remote monitoring of immigrants jump to a record $1.05 billion in 2022, up nearly 40% from the previous year. The harsh conditions in detention centers make those detained highly susceptible to physical and psychological illness or death. A total of 21 people died in U.S. immigration detention facilities in fiscal year 2020.
美国对移民采取的做法往往伴随着遣返、羁押这样一些做法，其中呢，往往会有暴力执法，进一步酿成了这样个渔民群体中的一个人道主义危机，伤害了移民群体的这样一种权利。从这个角度，我们也可以看出，他常常自诩为在人权领域是一个所谓的教师爷，的这样一种形象，但他实际上采取的做法常常是搞双重标准。
From the always changing immigration policies to the arbitrary arrest of immigrants and the harsh conditions of the detention facilities, all demonstrate that U.S. politicians only care about the political values of immigrants instead of protecting their fundamental rights. The U.S. government often intervenes in other countries' internal affairs and initiates conflicts around the world, resulting in humanitarian problems and immigration crises. The White House should stop these hegemonic, bully-like practices and focus on its own humanitarian issues rather than pretending to be a global human rights guardian. That's all for this episode of Dialogue with China. See you next time.